What's up, guys? Paul here. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. One of my favorite things in the world, my favorite anime, manga, world, characters, just everything about it has been such an influential part of my childhood and my life, and that's Naruto, and specifically, it's the live-action Naruto movie that Lionsgate is doing. There's been a ton of press about it. It's been talked about a lot, but there's been news about it being in the script phases, actually moving on to casting. Nothing is yet to move this film into production, actual production filming. And that's what we're going to be talking about, and the reasons why this film will fail. Not necessarily why it will fail, but why it could fail if it goes down the roads that I'm going to lay out for you guys. So the number one reason that I want to talk about, the first one on the list here, is why so many people get up in arms about these remakes, these adaptations of these animes and these mangas that presumably will do extremely successful here in the West. Films like, we've seen it before with films like Dragon Ball and Death Note, these anime adaptations that have tremendous followings, and they're set up for success because there's such a built-in fan base, yet they do so poorly in the box office and the reviews. And this first reason why Naruto could fail is because they don't stay true to the source material and the storylines that are presented for them. Now, not necessarily that the other films did that. The other films tried to take a lot of these elements, but I'm saying stay as true as possible without taking the liberties that will alter the world that we already know. So if Naruto, for example, there's so much content, there's so much story to be told, and the episodes go on for a long time. How much can you fit into an hour and a half worth of content? It's very, very hard, and we know for a fact that they're going to want to introduce Naruto to the people who do not know him in the West here. They're going to try and build in a bigger fan base so that they can franchise this similar to Lord of the Rings or Pirates of the Caribbean. They want to make money on this for a long time. They don't just do this stuff for the fans. They also do it so a lot of people can make money for a very, very long time, and they can continue to do so. That's why, unfortunately, a lot of these things do fail is because people are in it for the wrong reasons. Although, it does seem like Lionsgate and everyone is trying to do right by the fans here. Now, what I think is they're going to want to introduce Naruto. You're going to want to see this kid from, being the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox before anyone really cares about him, to him meeting Sasuke and Sakura and working with Kakashi. We're going to want to see all that stuff. We're going to want to see the bonding of those three, hopefully up to the tuning exams. That's I think the meat and potatoes, or the bulk of where we will be very happy with the storyline that's presented. Now, it's a lot of time to pass through. Now, could they do a storyline that's around Team 7 going up against Zabuza? I mean, we go from introducing Naruto, Team 7 forming, them becoming Genin, and then them going up to fight Zabuza. That is possible. That's something that I don't think people would be terribly mad at. Leave a sequel up to the tuning exams, and then leave the next pieces open to anything, really. You could go up to Pain Saga. We could go up to there would be so much more content after that, but it's got to be a storyline that stays true to what's been laid out before them without cutting too much and without adding anything different. So I personally would love to see something in the tuning exams area. That's where we see Sasuke get his mark from Orochimaru. Anything that we can see, who is going to be the villain, is the main question that we're going to be asking, and it better be someone that we know, not a storyline that's made up, and not something that we don't know, because then the fans are just going to be up in arms, and that will lead to the down. If you can't get the core fan base on board, you're not going to get a general fan base that is just interested in this movie because it looks good. Now, next, a big thing for me on why this movie could fail is the casting. Now, there's multiple parts to this that could lead to the downfall of a live-action Naruto movie, and number one is the race and gender of the characters. If they alter them, however, it's hard to say because we don't necessarily know the ethnicity of these characters. It's never talked about. They live in this shinobi world where we don't necessarily say someone is Caribbean. We don't say someone is Asian. We don't say someone is Indian. We just see what they look like. Now, if Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, if there is not some representation of ethnicity in that core group in some way, shape, or form, as in whitewashing, which has been just, I mean, look at what happened with Ghost in Shell and Scarlett Johansson. If Lionsgate decides to whitewash the main 3 cast members of this film, right there from the get-go, we're going to see a failure. Now, who is going to be of diversity? I don't know what the answer for that is, but someone has to be to represent the culture from which this came from, an Asian American or even just an Asian who can speak English. We're assuming that this film is going to be in English and not subtitled. I think that's their goal here, to get this Western market even more involved with Naruto. So if I had to assume what the best choice would be, is to have Naruto be open to ethnicity, and have Sasuke for sure be Asian. I mean, by open to ethnicity with Naruto, I mean he doesn't have to be white, but if he's going to be white, then Sasuke most definitely should be Asian. You're taking a franchise that was written in Japan for a Japanese audience, and then if you whitewash that by casting a Caucasian actor in that role or in all of these roles, you're going to be putting yourself in an uphill battle with the powers that be. Society and social media is not going to do this film very well the way it needs to, especially because there's been such a stigma that all these anime adaptations are done so poorly and whitewashed. So not only do we have to cast them ethnically diverse, we have to have some diversity within this main cast. We have to have diversity throughout the cast. Just because one of the main characters is Asian doesn't mean that should be it. We should see all types of diversity. Now, there'll be, if they go to, this is where things can get tricky, because if they decide to start altering the races of characters, that, let's say we change a character who is represented in one way and we make them either white or black or Asian or Indian, and it wasn't that way in the depiction from a skin color standpoint, you're going to see one side who's very unhappy, and you're going to see another side who is very supportive. We should see more diversity within these roles. So I think you have to take risks where they should be taken and be very diverse within this cast and very true to the Asian actors who are available and talented to do so, while also staying true to the source material. It's got to be a balance, and people won't be up in arms about characters being changed in diversity or not being diverse if you stay true to the source material anyway. So it's an easy compromise. Secondly, the actors need to be talented, and now this is going to be super hard because they have to be able to act well and be emotionally and have the emotional capacity to play these characters. Naruto is such a rambunctious, funny, full-spirited, hyper-energy character who has to also be able to do martial arts, potentially, or at least act as if he can do martial arts. Now, this is where the debate always comes into play. Do they go for the better actor or they go for the better martial artist? And I think without a doubt in my mind, if Lionsgate and the people behind this film, if they go with a martial artist who cannot act, the film fails. For these main characters, you need to have good actors, and you need to have good actors and get them great stunt doubles. That's it. That's how this film will succeed. If it doesn't, it will fail. We've seen it before, and there was good actors in these other films, but they need to be phenomenal actors. These characters are so memorable, and the voice actors who portray them are phenomenal. Naruto is in my mind, one of the most successfully dubbed animes that we've seen yet. So many dubs, they don't necessarily capture the emotions and the character when it's moving from a Japanese language to the English language. There's just different emotional translations that we don't necessarily pick up because it's not common for us to see characters acting that way. But Naruto did such a great job of, especially with the character of Naruto, seeing how fun and rambunctious and funny and cute and lovable that he is. We need to see that in an actor who can do that. I mean, God, myself, I would die to be in this film. There's so many great actors who can do it. Just to be a part of this world and to do it right would be a dream, but it would be terrible to be a part of something like that, especially for the people who do it, if it's done poorly. So all of these things need to come together. Everything needs to hit the nail on the head. It can't just be one thing because people are only going to look at the negatives. So the cast has to be great. The main cast specifically, our heroes and our villains need to be memorable and they need to be able to act these parts. Next, another huge thing which could determine whether this succeeds or it fails is where this is released. Now, if they decide to do a live streaming release like Netflix that we've seen with Death Note versus a theatrical run is going to dictate a lot about whether this film will thrive. Now, I think you can look from how successful movies like Assassin's Creed were versus how a movie like Death Note did. I think more people from this demographic are going to be more inclined to watch this if they see it in a Netflix type capacity. Now, there's not really any other competitors in the film market. Like Hulu is sticking more to television and so is Amazon, but I think a movie like Naruto will succeed far better if it exists on a Netflix rather than doing a theatrical release. Now, is there a marriage between a limited release and Netflix? If that's something they can do, I think it will thrive, but I think the movie will fail if it only does a theatrical release. I just don't think people, especially in that demographic, are gonna get up and go to the movies. They're gonna wait to torrent it. They're gonna wait for it to come out on DVD, and it needs to come out strong. It needs to release strong and do successful, because if it does bad in the beginning, it's just gonna ruin itself regardless if it's a good film or not. Now, to follow up with this casting debate also comes to the conversation that needs to be had about star actors. Now, if we wind up casting Shia LaBeouf or some celebrity in this role, number one, the character needs to be able to depict Naruto from a child to, I guess, what is, an adolescent, a preteen really, or an early teen for that matter. You're going to have to find the right actor, and I don't think there's any stars necessarily who can do that. So whether they cast them a bit older to play younger, I think that is the smart move, so that there can be a maturity, there can be actors who can do good work, and we don't rely on star names that exist, because I don't necessarily think that there is a star that can play these parts in the right way. I think we need to just find great actors, the way they did it with Star Wars, people who were not known at the time but are perfect for the part. So it's going to rely tremendously on the casting directors to find these people and to do it right. Do not just feed us star names to try and pull in this Western audience. It's not going to work. We don't want to see, Scarlett Johansson. We don't want to see Ryan Gosling playing Kakashi. We want to see people who are right for the part. Now, if there is a star who is perfect, then great. That's a happy marriage, but we cannot compromise the right actors and the perfect actors who just do so well, or who audition well for this part, and they are the characters. We can't sacrifice that for, blockbuster appeal. That will lead to a tremendous outcry from the audience saying, we don't want this shit. Because we don't. We just want people who are these characters, who are living and breathing it, and they aren't necessarily superstars. We didn't care. Look, I'm not that old. But we didn't care when Han Solo, when we didn't know, Mark Hamill. We just want people who are right for the parts. And now lastly, just to sum all this up on why this film will fail if it does not go down these roads that I'm presenting, is that the audience and fan base needs and wants to be involved. Now we've already seen that there is definitely from the articles that have been released that they don't want to do this unless Kishimoto is involved, and that's obviously a huge part of it. If Kishimoto is not involved, this film fails. That is it. If Kishimoto is not on board and approves the script and everybody involved with it, this film will fail. And I'm sure he will be smart enough to make sure that a lot of the other stuff that I mentioned is included too. But if we cannot get Kishimoto on board, this fails. But the fans want to be treated as equals in the process of this film. This is ours just as much as it is theirs. So that means if we have an opinion about something, we want that to be heard. Now, you can't necessarily listen to every little thing that's posted on Reddit, but do polls. Polls are a great indication on how people are feeling. Like, they've done it before. I forget what it was for. It might have been Castlevania. They did this for, I think it was a Marvel film, but they asked, is it important that we see a character who is an actual Romanian, or a gypsy rather, or not? And we saw I can't remember what it was for exactly, but there was a Twitter poll that we can see, with polls, we can see what the audience wants. And I think that is important to keep us involved in what we want and what we don't want. Don't just go against us to try and be, that's the worst part, is when companies, production companies and studios are just trying to be edgy and do things to push the limit just for the sake of doing it. If there's definitely a reason for having to change something, whether that's to fit in a storyline, you have to condense things, sure. We understand that an hour and 30-minute film can only be, an hour and 30 minutes. Maybe it'll be 2 hours at most. But don't go and just do things that we don't want. Keep us involved and continue to communicate with the fan base. There's so many ways of doing it. Conventions, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, AMAs, talk with us. See what we want. See who we want involved. See what we want the stories to be about. Don't just try and be bold. I thought this story should have been like this. I took it upon myself to say that this is the best part in Naruto, when these people aren't even necessarily fans. There are diehard fans who are in this industry. I am one of them. I may not be, a Hollywood producer, but there are people that you can speak to who are even more successful than me who can communicate this stuff to you and keep us involved. So those are my reasons why I think this movie will fail. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please subscribe. You can also check me out on Twitch. I've been streaming there at twitch.tv/RapidTV. But if you can, hit the subscribe button and follow button wherever you see me in my social medias. Truly appreciate it. Let me know what you think is going to be the rise or fall of this film. Whether you're excited to see it or not, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.